You grew up in Dublin, yes?
Yeah, I was born in Dublin, not far from here, in Holles Street, and 67 years ago, tomorrow, or Sunday. And yeah, so I grew up in, my first couple of years were in a town called Carlow, it was about 50 miles from Dublin. And my father became a senator. And we lived underneath the Labour Party offices, which are the other side of Stephen's Green. Wow. So I went to, when I was on my 4th birthday, I said, "Mum, I'm 4, I want to go to school." Oh. And I went to school. Wow. Yeah, and then we grew up for about 2 years there, and then moved out to an area called Drimna out in Dublin 12.
Right, right.
And that's where I spent most of my youth.
How did Sleeping with the Enemy come about? My goodness.
A lot of luck in my life, really. I mean, a modicum of talent I would accept, but certainly a lot of luck. And it was actually, there was a guy from Drimna, Johnny Murphy, who had played Lips in The Commitments.
Oh, right, yes.
He was doing a play in a place called The Falcon in Kentish Town in London. And at the interval, a guy called Shane Connaughton, who later was to write My Left Foot, the script for it. Oh, right. And he said, "Are you an actor?" I said, "Yeah." And he said one of his students was doing a film. He thought I might be right for the lead. So I went and met Niall Leonard was his name, and I did a short. It's probably the best thing I've ever done. It was a comedy, half-hour short for a student, but it got seen. So putting all this together, an audition came up for Mountains of the Moon with Bob Rafelson. So I went in and met with Bob Rafelson, who's an extraordinary man. And as a result of that, which was premiered in New York, on the night of that, Joe Roth, who was head of 20th Century Fox at the time, asked the ladies who were doing the advertising if they thought I was sexy. And they said, "Yes, thank God." And and I was brought to Hollywood to meet with the executives. And several interviews, and then eventually, my final interview, I dressed in my 9-piece suit, and in the middle of summer. And anyway, there was a whole table full of these people, and they said, "Blah blah blah blah. What's this and what's that?" And I answered as best I could all the questions. They said, "Okay, Patrick, we'll be in touch. Let you know." And I stood up. I said goodbye, and walked up, opened the door, and walked into the broom closet.
Oh.
And that was the moment the director, Joe Rubin, said I got the movie.
Oh, why was that?
Something he read something in my face, the embarrassment,
right.
The way I was able to cope with the embarrassment. He said, "This is the character."
Wow.
Yeah.
What a story. It's incredible how life is the way it did. Step by step things that happen. And I mean, what a role that was. I mean, it was blood-curdling, and you played it so well. How was it working with Julia Roberts?
Oh, she was great.
Yeah.
And we had a lot of fun doing it in many ways, but there was a moment quite quickly, really, when I realized the full extent of the character I was playing and how extreme I had to be. Yeah. And it became very difficult for me to be friendly with her. So the lunches stopped, lunchtime talks, and so now I began to have that sort of, I suppose for want of a better word, hate, kind of that sort of thing, And so that pervaded the latter part of the making of the movie for sure. And but she was great, and it was good fun to work. Joe Rubin had studied Alfred Hitchcock, and so every beat, every nuance of the thing was milked. One of my favorite, I happened to be able to write a couple of the lines in it too. I mean, I had a very big, long speech at the end to her, for example, and I just could not keep that intensity. Yeah. And I said to Joe, I'm just finding it really difficult. He said, "Well, what would you say?" "I can't live without you, and I won't let you live without me." Boof. Called on the Oscar-winning writer, and that was went into the movie. There was things like that which I was very proud of.
It left its mark on so many people. I mean, it was really interesting to hear. It was almost like, method acting. Would you call it method acting, where you literally had to be outside of the part living it in a funny kind of a way where you couldn't, I mean, you couldn't, as you say, do the lunches.
Well, that's exactly as you say. No, it did get to that, what you might call method. So one had to just have that sort of venom in one's look all the time, and that intensity.
Absolutely incredible. And so then your life changed dramatically.
Well, I wouldn't go that far. I mean, I worked a lot. I never really indulged in, or never desired a lot of publicity. A lot of young people don't realize, or young actors, etc., that they think it's all about your talents, and it's not always about your talents. Quite literally, there are lists, and you have to be on that list to get the part.
Right.
And the reason you're on that list is because of the amount of money your previous movie made. That's the bottom line. I mean, you can have directors who want you particularly because they admire your work or whatever. But in the end, it's the producers there's a huge part of it is how much money your money. And I, fortunately, Sleeping with the Enemy put me on in the top echelons of that list because it made so much money. And then I happened to arrive in Hollywood at a time of the development of cable television. Now, if you recall, cable television promised a new movie a week. There was at least 4 or 5 cable channels. That's 250 films a year, right? Yes. I was in half of them.
There you go.
You know what I mean? I got a lot of them.
Yeah.
They were going from one to the next. And which was great because I spent a lot of time all over the world doing movies and doing interesting roles. Mostly, obviously, forgettable, but fun to do.
Right. So before I talk about EastEnders, because that's your latest, I saw you in the most incredible movie in Los Angeles, and it was on Irish Screen America, Native.
Linda Bhreathnach?
Yes.
Yeah, it's a lovely little film, and it's quite short, but it's very poetic, and it captures a side of what it's like to be human that she's brilliantly executed as a director. And it was set out in the west of Ireland, out near Rossmuck. So you have a powerful sense of nature and a powerful sense of the cragginess of Irish, I don't know, muscle, for want of a better word. And it was wonderful being out there because the island is uninhabited except for one man that lives on that island out there. And in order to get to that island, you have to wait till the tide's out. So if you remember in the film, there is a scene where you see this figure going out. That's him practically walking on water to get out to his roots. Right. And again, it's that idea of going back to your roots. And although I wasn't raised in the west of Ireland, I did spend some time there learning Irish in Spittle. So I had a sense of where I was. I knew. I'm
very good. And so there was no speaking you didn't speak in this movie, and your facial expressions, you didn't need to.
If I may trivialize a little of that, because it sounds like we're getting serious, but it is serious. It is serious, and I am serious. I don't want to trivialize it at all. But there is, I mean, in terms, it's not just me as an actor. The less you do on screen, sometimes the better, because people, exactly as you said, will read into your face what they're thinking if you don't dictate to them from. I do a course, a workshop for young people, and I've done it in LA, I've done it in New York, and I've done it here, and Belfast and Liverpool as well, I think. And it's called Acting by Numbers, 0 to 10. It's a fun piece, and people like doing it. They come, and there's a camera just like that, and then you're to look into the camera, and 0 is to be able to sit in front of the camera, look at the camera, and for the count of 0 to 10, do absolutely nothing, not blink. I don't know whether I could do it myself. Shall we try?
Okay, go and have a go. Have a go.
0. Okay.
That's awesome.
And you have to be able to do that.
Right.
And then number one is breathe. So don't forget to breathe.
Don't forget to breathe. Yeah.
So little had to be said.
Sure.
The environment and the fact that you were there at all in that environment meant so much.
So look, now coming up to today, EastEnders, you seem to play these roles of late, not of late. Well, since since you've been on the scene, as far as I'm concerned, pretty baddie kind of characters. This one's awesome.
Yeah, I know, and Aidan is I guess he's a baddie. I mean, I can't deny it.
A lovable one.
I hope that it's important that.
Yeah.
I mean, there is a room for an absolute out evil character, for sure. And I think it sounds like a cliche, but I think cliches are called cliches because they're true. The better the baddie, the better the movie.
Yes.
And because the better the hero is going to have to be to defeat the baddie.
Right.
So, and there is an element of that in all of us. And certainly in my love of the cinema and of the arts, that wicked side, the thing that's called wicked, is worth exploring. I mean, I've played the saint. I played Saint Patrick as well.
Oh,
you know,
you did?
yes,
That's right.
as well as Dracula.
Extremes.
There you go.
That's what. So with this character Aidan, they brought you in for the big Christmas story. There's always this fabulous Christmas story in EastEnders.
Yeah, just don't ask me where the money is, okay? I'm sworn to secrecy.
What's it like on EastEnders? I always wonder, because there's so many episodes. How do you learn your lines so fast?
It is tricky. I mean, I've been reasonably lucky with my lines. I mean, you're employed the whole week, but I've rarely done 3 or 4 days more than that a week. But you can be brought in for the 6th day, and it's a long day. Yeah. And my admiration goes to those other members, really, because they learn a tremendous amount. And you can be doing on a movie. You might do 4 or 5 pages a day if it's kind of a heavy day-ish. They're doing 15 to 20 a day, no problem. Right. They've got 3 or 4 cameras on the go at any one time. There may be 3 or 4 different storylines going and being shot at the same time with 2 or 3 different directors. It's a wonderful, fantastic operation. Right. And fair play to the BBC and the people involved. They do a great job.
I was going to say to you, there can't be too many takes. It's almost live.
Exactly. You don't. I mean, I have had takes and had to have them because in a sense the intensity of the character I play. Occasionally, it's hard to hit that first thing in the morning. So you might need a couple to get there. You know what I mean? Another cup of coffee, please.
And so you just came back from London. You filmed some more out there.
Yeah, I've been filming recently, and on a break from filming, I've just shot a film for Michael Flatley called Blackbird, which hopefully will be out this year at some point. And I'm playing the head of an intelligence organisation in that, and staying busy, staying out of trouble.
Right. Well.
And of course, my music.
I want to talk to you about
really concentrating on at the moment.
Tell me. So the music is really exciting. The new one that you've got coming out, Crazy in Love?
It's called Crazy in Love. It's got the same title as Beyonce. The closest I'll get to Beyonce this year. But it's a nice song. You can get it on Spotify. It's Crazy in Love, Patrick Bergin. And it's a little jazzy piece that I recorded just next door here. There used to be a studios here on just beside the Shelbourne. Right. And we recorded that a few years back, actually, now. But its time has come. Right.
Well, when listening to it, it is very jazzy, and I felt like I was in New Orleans. Norlins. That's Norlins.
And on the same album, there is a song called New Orleans, believe it or not. Yeah, I must get you a copy of the whole song.
We have to say it right, Norlins.
No. Nawlins. Oh,
Nawlins.
I've been there.
Very good.
Yeah. And the song that I had is called Ole Nawlins. And it's got a nice chorus, a la-la chorus.
Right. Well, I am going to ask you to do something for us.
No, don't.
Come on. No. Just a little bit. Trying the whistle. The whistle in the song is so good. Awesome.
Almost.
Brilliant, brilliant.
Almost.
Oh my goodness. Listen, thank you so much, Patrick, for talking to us.
you.
What a fun
Delight.
day it's been. Thank you
Great.
so much.
It's a delight. And good luck to you.